Good morning. Good morning. We are now live on Facebook and YouTube. Well, welcome. Thanks for logging on for another session of Daily Learning and Inspiration. Lockdown Inspiration. Good to see you all here. I see you all logging on. Fantastic. Good morning. Good tov. Okay, keep your comments coming through. We've got a nice crowd here this morning. Keep your comments coming through. We're going to welcome you personally in just a moment. Just allowing a minute or so for people to log on. I see people logging on YouTube now, which is fantastic. So well done. Great to see you all. So active, so involved. Thank you. Okay, I'm going to welcome you all here. Let's do this. Those of you that have greeted me, I'd like to welcome you back to the discussion this morning. So here we go. Jared Abelson, hello. And Hack, good morning. Shelley Feldman, Boker Tov, Alina Dolovitz, thank you. Helen Feinstein, good morning. Jackie Miller, Boker, thank you. Bernice Kraus, yes, thanks for the feedback. I appreciate that. Linda and Jaime Drew, good morning. Marlene Scher, good morning. Norman Stain, good morning. Norman Stain, thank you. And on YouTube, we have Lionel Rubin, Sherilyn Diamond, Vega Sega, Shelley Smith. We're going to start in just a moment. Ronnie Kotkus and Eleanor, nice to see you all here, both of you. Thank you for joining. So while you're busy joining, if I could just ask the Facebookers to like this video and share this video so that others can benefit too, that'd be great. Hi, Manfred and Ruth. Good to have you online with us this morning. Thank you for joining. Wonderful. I'd like to dedicate this morning's Shia to Norman Stain's mother, Miriam Bat. May her neshama have an aliyah, a spiritual elevation. Thank you, Norman and Phyllis, for your contribution. May the tzedakah in her memory and the learning in her memory be an assistance for her on her journey, her spiritual journey of her neshama. Thank you for contributing. If anybody else would like to contribute and to donate as well as the learning, that will be very much appreciated. It goes to the shul and enables us to do the work that we're doing. So thank you very much in her memory. And good to have you all online. Philip Gordon, good morning. Thank you for joining. In addition to the memory of Miriam Bat Moshe, I also dedicate the learning today to two close friends who need a refuah shalema. And that is Rafael Shmuel ben Itamira and also Chaim, Avram, Yosef, and Sarah. May they have a refuah shalema. Michael Stain, I think you're on the... Michael, come onto my chat. Looks like you're on someone else's video that shared this video. So Michael Stain, if you want to join us on this chat so your dad Norman can see you, come online with us. You have to go to my page and see my comments there, or my feed. Thanks, Jared Abelson, for pointing that out. Boker Tov, Brian Owen. Okay, let's get going here. Good to have you all here. Larry Cohen, good morning. Thanks for joining. Fantastic. All right, here we go. So this day today is a special day that I want to share with you the meaning of. Hi, David Seif, good morning. It's the 13th of Tammuz. Hi, Dennis Solomons. Yesterday was the 12th of Tammuz. Today is the 13th of Tammuz. And there's a powerful context to the day of today, which I want to share with you in this forum. So thank you for joining us here. In 1927, Boker Tov, thank you, Robert and Maureen Levy. In 1927, something great happened on this day. It was the miraculous release of Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson, who was the Lubavitcher Rebbe's father-in-law. And he was released on the 13th of Tammuz, on the 12th and 13th of Tammuz. And following that, he eventually came to America, where he spent 10 years, from 19 till 1950, till 1940. From 1940 to 1950, until he passed away. And this is a special day because this is a man, a rabbi, a leader, who gave of his life for the sake of Judaism. But didn't just give of his life for the sake of Judaism. He motivated many others to give their lives as well for the sake of Judaism. You see, they were living in a time. Hi, Michael Stein. I see you on the right chat now. Thanks for joining. And Mora Dworkin, thanks for being here on YouTube. You see, they were living in Tsarist Russia. They were living in communist Russia. And when you're living in communist Russia, practicing of Judaism was something that was prohibited. You weren't allowed to have mikvahot, the mikvah. You weren't allowed to have the cheder. You weren't allowed to have Jewish studies and Jewish learning and prayers. And it was called underground Judaism. Can you imagine underground Judaism? We're living today in a world that is relatively free when it comes to religion. But that's times of the early 1900s, late 1800s. It was very, very difficult for the Jewish communities at that time. And what happened was, if you were involved in the spreading of Judaism, if you were involved in the building of a mikveh, or the teaching of children, Torah learning, or davening or leading a service in the shuls, you were automatically arrested by the KGB. The KGB of the communists would arrive to the venue, would arrest you and take you to jail. Sometimes to exile, where your families wouldn't see you again. And many of Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak's Hasidim and disciples were actually arrested and taken away from their families for trying to spread Yiddishkeit in Judaism, literally Mesirut Nefesh, literally giving of their lives and losing their lives for the sake of spreading Yiddishkeit. And it was at that time that the Rebbe himself, Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak, was arrested too. He was the coordinator. He was the instigator. They saw him as prize number one. If they can get hold of him, and arrest him and even kill him, that would be an example to all of his disciples and his students of what happens to somebody who betrays the communist government. This is what happens to your Rebbe, to your leader, and this is what's going to happen to all of you if you continue spreading Yiddishkeit and Judaism around. And so the papers were written. The documents were signed. They were going to kill Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak for what he had done to spread Yiddishkeit around Russia at the time. Before I continue, I want to welcome you all here online with us. We have over 45 viewers or more between Facebook and YouTube here this morning. So thank you for joining us for another session of daily learning. We're dedicating our learning in memory of Miriam Bat Moshe, May her neshama have an aliyah, Norman Stein's mother. Thank you very much. But thanks for being here. And if you have any questions, put them in the chat. If you want to share your greetings this morning, I'd love to welcome you here personally. So put your greetings in either in the YouTube chat or in the Facebook chat. Let us know you're with us. And so you can imagine the fear that was felt across the communities. The fear that was felt across communities when they heard that their dear Rebbe was going to be killed, sentenced to death. A miracle took place, and his sentence was actually changed. It was changed from a death penalty to an exile penalty, where he was sent to exile in the month of Tammuz, 1927. And another miracle happened, that shortly after he was sent into exile, 10 days in fact, the sentence was retracted and he was sent back home. They seemed to realize who they were dealing with here. They seemed to realize what sort of leader they were dealing with. And as a result, the officials changed the decree and released the Rebbe on the 12th and 13th. He was finally let go today on Yud Gimel Tammuz, the 13th of Tammuz. But I want to share with you something powerful that he shared at the train station on his way out into exile. And that was my title of the talk this morning. What did Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak Schneerson share at the train station when he was on his way to exile, to Kostroma, as it was called? He shared the famous line. He says to his students, I know it's difficult times for us right now. It's difficult that I'm going into exile and we're not sure if we're going to hear from each other ever again. I don't know if I'll see you and you don't know if you'll see me. But I want you to remember one thing, he said. I want you to remember that exile doesn't apply to the spiritual neshama of a Yid, of a Jew. Exile is something that happens to us externally, physically, to our bodies. But a neshama can never be in exile. A neshama can never be enslaved to anybody else. A neshama remains free and connected to God the entire time. So although I'm about to board the train, he said to his disciples, to his family, although I'm about to board the train and I'm about to go into exile, my neshama never goes into exile. My neshama stays strong as a Yid, as a caring Jew, connected to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, connected to Hashem and to his mission, to his purpose. Temporarily, my body is being taken away into exile. And he says, I want you to remember that. How powerful is that? That circumstances that happen on the outside are only external. Internally, our neshama stays on fire. Internally, our neshama is connected to God the entire time. Nothing changes the connection of our soul. Nothing changes the connection of our neshama, of our soul to God. That remains in touch all the time. What often goes through changes in and out is the body. The body of a person, that can go through exile. That can be contaminated. That can be hidden and concealed. Linda and Jaime, refuah shalom for Esther Devora Bat Sarah Rina. Absolutely. Thank you, Shalom Triga, for your comments on YouTube, and I'm happy you enjoyed last night. Thank you, Hilly Lipworth, for your comments, for your greetings on Facebook here this morning. I hear someone's on from Australia. Larry Cohen, who's watching from Australia? Let's hear. I'd like to know who else is with us from around the country, from around the world. So if you are on, please share your comments, your greetings, your questions. And so let's remember that no one influences our neshama besides ourselves. We are the only ones that are responsible for our neshama, for our soul. And our soul is eternal. Today, we're commemorating a yahrzeit of Miriam Bat Moshe. We also know that the passing of a loved one from this world does not mean the passing of the soul. The soul is eternal. The soul remains with us the entire time. What happens? Oh, Philip, your cousin's online with us. Snepelski. Okay, good to see you. Thank you, Rish, for your feedback and your comments. During this time of Miriam Bat Moshe, her yahrzeit today, it's important to remember that the loss of a loved one is not the loss of a neshama. A neshama remains intact forever, with us forever. What happens at the time of passing is a physical loss. It's the body that goes into the ground, back to where it came from. Just like the body goes through changes, the body goes into exile, but the neshama remains eternal, everlasting. Nothing affects the neshama. Nothing affects the soul. And I think it's very relevant to the times we're in now. As Rish said, it's so appropriate for now. Because now they're going through challenging times. Economically, financially, health-wise, community, country, world. Crazy times are happening right now. But let's remember, our neshama stays intact. Spiritually, we stay intact. Spiritually, we remain connected to Hashem. What goes through changes, what the world is experiencing, is something physical, finite, mundane. That doesn't mean it's a small change. Physical change is also massive. But ultimately, the neshama is in control. And that's our true essence. Our true essence is the neshama, is the soul, and that remains eternal. I want to share with you something else that he writes. Rabbi Yosef Yitzchak wrote a year later, celebrating the festival of his redemption. He wrote a letter to his Hasidim, wherever they were, and he said that